Chapter 7. Angelica sat and looked up at the sky, a tear forming in the corner of each eye. She wondered how close she was to the same fate as Tina Gonzalez. Her ex, Patty, was a violent man towards her. In fact, as far as she could make out, he was a violent man towards all women. She had been beaten several times. The brutal pig that Patty was when he was one-on-one with her disappeared and was transformed into a jovial fellow when the police arrived to speak to him. She'd reported Patty to the police in England 4 times. On each of those occasions, he had charmed the police into believing that he was as calm as a Buddhist monk and wouldn't hurt a fly, let alone the mother of his child. They took it hook, line, and sinker. Angelica had to leave the country to get away from him. She looked at the property, knowing that the walls couldn't tell what happened within them. They couldn't tell of the verbal abuse that made the victim feel like they were worthless, a tiny speck of worthless matter on the sole of the shoe of humanity. The walls couldn't tell of the physical violence enacted by the aggressor. Patty would hit her where he didn't leave marks. Her internal organs must have taken one hell of a beating, because she ached for days in agony without so much as a bruise to show for her pain. They couldn't tell of the choice Angelica was given by her despotic ex, a choice of whether to take the beating herself or pass it on to Tommy. That was what he'd said to her, those exact words. Angelica closed her eyes and went to a happier place. In fact, her happy place was the place she was in at that moment. Happier. She'd gone there without much knowledge of the place and found a paradise. Away from Patty, away from all of those memories. It was a heavenly change to the drudgery of life with Patty in the northeast of England. As well as being away from him, she was also somewhere surrounded by friends. She couldn't have those with Patty, and with a lack of rain well over 300 days a year. As she sat there with her eyes tightly closed, thinking of how happy Tommy and she had become, she had felt the heat of the sunshine on her face through the side window. It was going to be a sunny day. Another one. She thought about going back to the beach after school with Tommy. All her chores for the day had fallen by the wayside. She could get to them when she felt more like it. After all, what were they going to do? Kick her out of the country? Suddenly, Angelica was thrust back into the present with a knock at the window. She opened her eyes quickly and looked out in the direction of the knocking sound. There was a face directly opposite hers on the other side of the glass. The face belonged to Javi Jones. "Let's get that coffee another time, shall we?" he said. Angelica wound down the electric window and asked, "What's happened here?" She wasn't sure he would give her any information, but she had to try. He said nothing in return. "I know Tina Gonzalez. If you don't help me, I'll find out anyway. It will be all over the playground by the end of the school day," she offered. "The mother has been killed. The father has been arrested. It's an open and shut case," he explained before heading off in the direction of his car. If it was an open and shut case, then why didn't it feel that way?